Eliana, a talented and respected surgeon, walked through the corridors of the renowned Central Hospital in the bustling city. Her immaculate white coat and her firm, confident steps reflected her professional competence gained through years of dedication and hard work. Eliana was an admired figure at the hospital, known for her surgical skills and commitment to her patients. Despite her recognition at the workplace, Eliana faced a personal dilemma: her relationship with Breno, an ambitious executive at a multinational corporation. Breno, with his impeccably tailored suits and calculating gaze, was the type of man who knew what he wanted for his career but seemed undecided about the future of their relationship. On a typical evening, the couple met at Eliana's apartment. The atmosphere was cozy, but the tension between them was almost palpable. "I just wish you understood, Breno, that my biological clock won't wait forever," Eliana said, her voice mixing frustration and hope. "I dream of having children, of building a family." Breno, sitting on the leather sofa, ran his hand through his hair, visibly uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation. "Eliana, you know, my career is taking off. I can't afford to slow down now. A family can wait." Eliana felt a pang of disappointment. She looked out the window, contemplating the city lights. This was the backdrop of her life, a brilliant career but a growing emotional void. She wanted more than professional achievements. She longed for a partner who shared her deepest dreams. The next day, at the hospital, while performing a complex surgery, Eliana reflected on her choices. She was an exceptional professional, but deep down, she questioned if professional fulfillment was enough to fill the void in her heart. She yearned for balance, for a partner who understood her ambitions and personal aspirations. Eliana's quest for this balance would become the centerpiece of her journey. Between the hospital corridors and intimate moments with Breno, she found herself at a crossroads, torn between love and career, between the desire to be a mother and the demands of a demanding professional life. It was a dilemma that would define her, shaping her destiny in ways she could not yet imagine. A week after a conversation with Breno, on a busy morning at the Central Hospital, Eliana was immersed in her work. The operating rooms echoed with the sound of machines and medical commands as she performed delicate surgery with steady and focused hands. The clock on the wall continued to tick, indifferent to the tension filling the room. Upon completing the surgery, Eliana removed her surgical gloves, letting them rest on a metal tray. Her eyes, still marked by the lines of protective glasses, reflected a mixture of exhaustion and satisfaction. She headed to the locker room, already rehearsing the procedures for the next surgery. It was then that the sound of her phone interrupted her thoughts. Looking at the screen, she saw an unknown number and pressed the phone to her ear. "This is Luisa, a social worker. I have some very difficult news. Your cousin Maya and her husband were in a fatal accident. I deeply regret to inform you that they passed away." The words hit Eliana like a blow. She leaned against the locker room wall, feeling the world spin. "Maya? No, this can't be," she murmured, her voice trembling. Luisa continued, her voice now overflowing with compassion. "I know it's a shock. They left their son, Jonas, who is now in our temporary custody. We need to discuss the next steps." Eliana could barely process the words. Her beloved cousin Maya, with whom she shared so many childhood memories, and now Jonas, a 5-year-old orphan. She was overwhelmed by a wave of sadness and responsibility. I need to see him. I need to understand what happened. Please, tell me where I can find him, Eliana said, struggling to maintain her composure. Of course. We'll arrange everything. We'll be here to support you every step of the way, Luisa replied, trying to convey some comfort through her words. Eliana hung up the phone after getting the information of where to go, feeling the weight of the news crushing her. The hustle and bustle of the hospital around her now seemed distant and irrelevant. She knew her life had just changed irreversibly, facing a reality she never imagined. The possibility of becoming Jonas's only family, her little cousin now orphaned. In an instant, her meticulously planned professional life gave way to an immense and unexpected personal challenge. Before Eliana went to her cousin's funeral, Luisa called again. The social worker explained that Jonas had no one to stay with because Maya had lost her parents in a car accident when she was 19, and Maya's husband was an orphan. Maya had left Eliana as a potential guardian for Jonas if anything happened to them. Luisa asked Eliana if she could take responsibility for Jonas, visit him regularly, as it was important to have a family member present. The next day, Eliana called her parents to accompany her to the city where Jonas was, and where her cousin's funeral would be held. The journey to the small rural town was marked by heavy silence as they sat in the back seat of the car. Eliana looked out the window, observing the landscape gradually changing from scratched urban skies to green fields pass. Her retired parents focused in respectful silence, occasionally exchanging worried glances through the rearview mirror. Upon arriving in the small town, they were enveloped by an atmosphere of nostalgia. The homologated streets, with houses with balconies and flowered gardens, brought back memories of past summers. With Maya, your cousin, Eliana recalls, when we used to run through these streets, laughing non-stop, her father said, trying to bring a smile amidst the sadness. Eliana responded with a melancholic smile, yes, Dad, it feels like yesterday. Maya was always so full of life. When they arrived at the house where the wake would be held, Eliana felt a pang in her heart. The open doors revealed a room full of people murmuring condolences. In the center of the room, there was a coffin adorned with white flowers and photographs of Maya and her husband. Eliana moved slowly, memories of her childhood with Maya flooding her mind. Every laugh, every shared secret, every moment of closeness seemed distant and lost. It was at that moment that Eliana noticed a small boy with tousled brown hair and big eyes timidly watching her from a corner. Their eyes met, and Eliana immediately knew it was Jonas. Due to Eliana's busy life, she had distanced herself from her family and had never seen photos of Jonas, even though she was invited to his birthdays. Since Maya had great affection for Eliana, in addition to being cousins, they had always been friends and grew up together. Now, at Maya's funeral, she knelt before Jonas, seeking the right words. Hi, Jonas, I'm Eliana, your cousin. I met your mother when we were your size. Her voice was gentle, trying to convey comfort. Jonas, looking at Eliana with a mixture of curiosity and sadness, replied with a small voice, "Will you stay with me now?" Those words struck Eliana deeply. "I will stay with you, Jonas. We will take care of each other, okay?" She extended her hand and delicately intertwined her fingers with the boy's. At that moment, surrounded by memories of Maya and the overwhelming reality of loss, Eliana felt an instant connection with Jonas. It was a feeling of responsibility, love, and a renewed determination to be there for someone who was now alone in the world. Maya's loss not only brought sadness but also united Eliana with a new life, Jonas' life, which now depended on her. In the days following the funeral, Eliana found herself at an emotional and practical crossroads. She had obligations to the busy hospital routine, but her thoughts during one of those visits, while playing a board game, prompted Jonas to say, "Eliana, will you visit me again tomorrow?" She was touched by the simplicity and sincerity of the question. "Of course, Jonas, I love spending time with you." Jonas' sincere response ended in a tight hug, making Eliana question her initial decisions. "I never thought I would feel like this, Jonas. You are becoming very special to me," Eliana whispered as she hugged him. On the way home, Eliana contemplated her life, her career. Everything seemed right for her, but the growing connection with Jonas was becoming impossible to ignore. Could she really take care of him and be a surgeon mother at the same time? She wondered, doubting her ability to balance two very different lives. In a call with her mother, Eliana expressed her doubts. "Mom, I don't know if I can do this. My career is so demanding, but I've always wanted to be a mother." Her mother, always a source of wisdom and support, replied, "Eliana, love and family find a way to fit into our lives, even when it seems impossible. You have a big heart and a strong mind. Do not underestimate your ability to love and care for Jonas." Those words echoed in Eliana's mind in the days that followed. The unexpected connection with Jonas was becoming something impossible to ignore. Eliana began to envision a life where she could be both a dedicated surgeon and a loving mother. Even though she knew the challenges would be enormous, the possibility of taking care of Jonas was shifting from doubt to hope. A new purpose was giving new meaning to her life. While Eliana was in this dilemma, she even forgot about Breno, who was on a business trip but would return the following week. Days passed, and Eliana found herself facing a critical decision that shook her personal world. Sitting on the living room couch, she anxiously awaited Breno's arrival, her boyfriend, to discuss a matter that weighed heavily on her heart: the future of Jonas, her recently orphaned cousin. When Breno arrived, the atmosphere was already tense. He immediately saw the seriousness on Eliana's face and said, "Eliana, what's going on? You seem worried." Taking a deep breath, Eliana began, "Breno, I need to talk about Jonas, my cousin. After what happened, I'm seriously considering taking care of him." Breno, surprised, frowned disapprovingly. "Taking care of him, Eliana? You're a surgeon, we have years of careers, our lives. How can you think about adopting a child now?" Eliana, feeling a mixture of frustration and determination, replied, "It's not just a matter of convenience, Breno. Jonas is family, he needs me, and I feel like I can do it. I can't leave him alone." Breno jumped off the couch and began pacing back and forth, clearly agitated. "This is absurd, Eliana. Do you want to risk everything we've built for an impulsive decision? I didn't enter this relationship to suddenly become a father." Eliana, with tears in her eyes, turned to Breno. "It's not an impulsive decision, Breno. It's about doing what's right. I love you, but I can't turn my back on Jonas, and you know I've always wanted to have a child." Breno paused, staring at Eliana with an expression of disbelief. "So this is it? You're choosing him instead of us," he said. Eliana, feeling the weight of his words, replied in a trembling voice, I'm not choosing him over us. I'm including him in my life and hoped you could understand and support me." Breno, sensing the determination in her voice, sighed deeply. "Eliana, if that's how it is, maybe I don't have a place in this new life you're choosing. I'll give you some time to think about it. Let me know when you've made the decision." Breno left Eliana's apartment, closing the door behind him. Eliana contemplated the scene, torn between the love she felt for Breno and the growing affection for Jonas. She was divided as the night progressed, and the words exchanged between them made it clear that Eliana's life was taking a path she had never anticipated. A path full of uncertainties, but also a promise of something profoundly meaningful. Sitting on the balcony, looking out at the urban skyline, Eliana spoke to herself. "I never imagined having to make a choice like this. Jonas, an innocent boy who lost everything, or Breno, the man I imagined a future with." The memory of Jonas' confused and powerless gaze at the funeral that day came to mind. She could feel the weight of the responsibility, but also a wave of instinctive love that flooded her every time she thought of the boy. "Jonas needs me," she murmured, feeling a maternal connection she couldn't ignore. With tears in her eyes, Eliana picked up the phone and dialed Breno's number. "Breno, we need to talk." "I've made my decision," Eliana said, her voice firm but trembling. "I've chosen Jonas," she continued. "I can't abandon him. He's my family now, and I need to be there for him." There was a pause on the other end of the line before Breno spoke. "So it's you. This is ending things with me?" Eliana took a deep breath and replied, "It's not just about ending things, Breno. It's about choosing a path I feel I must follow. I'm sorry if you're not willing to go through this with me." After hanging up, Eliana felt a mix of relief and certainty. She knew the road ahead would be difficult. Welcoming Jonas into her life meant embarking on a new journey, a journey as a single mother. However, despite the challenges she knew she would face, she felt an inner strength emerging, fueled by her instinctive love for Jonas and her desire to provide him with the love and security he had lost. That night, Eliana called the social worker and communicated her intention to adopt Jonas. Days passed, and adjusting to the new life with Jonas was not an easy journey for Eliana. Each day brought its own challenges and discoveries. Her apartment, once a sanctuary of tranquility after long days at the hospital, was now filled with laughter, toys, and children's drawings, a vibrant energy that only a child could bring. Eliana often found herself navigating between the responsibilities of a surgeon and those of a single mother. One night, while Jonas slept, she sat on the couch, exhausted but with a smile on her face. "I never thought teaching him to brush his teeth could be so tiring," she laughed to herself, remembering the water everywhere in the bathroom earlier. It was during these moments of reflection that Carlos, a colleague, began to approach her. Carlos had always shown a supportive and friendly attitude towards Eliana, even when things were complicated with Breno. One afternoon, while Eliana was at the park with Jonas, Carlos approached. "Hi, Eliana, can I join you?" Eliana, grateful, replied, "Of course, Carlos, your company is always welcome." As Jonas played, Carlos and Eliana talked. "You're doing incredibly well, Eliana. If you need help, I'm here," Carlos said, looking at her sincerely. Eliana thanked him, feeling comforted. "You've been a roller coaster, but every smile from Jonas makes it all worthwhile." In the following months, the friendship between Eliana and Carlos strengthened. He became a constant presence, helping with small things, from fixing a broken toy to providing emotional support. Eliana found comfort in her conversations with Carlos and his balanced view of life, which helped her maintain her sanity in the face of the changes she was experiencing. On a quiet night, after putting Jonas to bed, Eliana and Carlos sat on the couch, sharing a bottle of wine. Carlos, with a pensive expression, broke the silence. "Eliana, I feel something for you, more than friendship. I don't want to pressure you, but I need to say it." Eliana, surprised but visibly moved, replied, "Carlos, I feel the same. You've become such an important part of our lives. I was afraid to admit it, but I want more from this moment on." What was once a beautiful friendship turned into a tender and careful romance. They spent more time together, not only as friends but now as a couple. Carlos wasn't just a partner for Eliana, he was also a friend for Jonas, providing the boy with a sense of stability and a loving male role model. Eliana discovered a new sense of happiness and fulfillment. Life, which once seemed to be only about challenges and responsibilities, was now full of love, laughter, and support. Together, they created a warm and stable family environment for Jonas, a home where love, understanding, and care were abundant. It was a new phase in Eliana's life, a phase in which she rediscovered the joy, love, and satisfaction of sharing life not only with her adopted son but also with someone who became her life partner. Months passed, and the turning point in Eliana's life came on a spring afternoon when Breno, the man she had once deeply loved, reappeared in her life. Since their separation, Breno had undergone a process of reflection and self-discovery. He arrived at Eliana's apartment, holding a bouquet of flowers, a symbolic gesture of his renewed thoughts. "Eliana, I know I don't have the right to just show up like this, but I asked to see you." "I realized my mistake," Breno began, clearly nervous. Eliana, surprised by the unexpected visit, listened attentively. What would unfold from there, she wasn't sure. But one thing was clear: her life had changed since Jonas entered it, and she was ready to face any challenge that came her way. The encounter to come in, Breno looked around, noticing the changes, scattered toys, photos of Eliana with Jonas and Carlos. "I was a fool, Eliana. It took me a while to realize, but now I see how much you mean to me. And Jonas is important to you, so he's important to me too. I want to be part of this life, if you'll allow me," Breno said with a compassionate expression. Firmer, Eliana replied, "Breno, your visit surprised me a lot. Much has changed since you left. Jonas and I have moved on." Breno, with a hopeful look, took a step forward. "I know I've changed too late, but I'm here now, and I want to be here for both of you, Eliana. Please, give me another chance." At that moment, Carlos entered the room with Jonas, who ran to hug Eliana. The scene before Breno was the embodiment of Eliana's new life, a life he didn't recognize but one that clearly made her happy. Embracing Jonas, Eliana looked at Breno and then at Carlos before responding, "Breno, you were important, but now I have Carlos and Jonas. They are my family. I can't go back to what it was before." Breno, understanding the specificity of the situation, sighed deeply. "I understand. I just wanted you to know that I regret it." "Thank you for your regret, Breno, but we are on different paths now. I hope you find the happiness you seek," Eliana said with a confidence that marked the end of a chapter in her life. Breno left Eliana's apartment, leaving behind the life that could have been. Eliana, on the other hand, looked at Carlos and Jonas, feeling a wave of gratitude and certainty about her choice. She had reaffirmed her new life, a life built on love, choice, and family. Breno was part of her past, but Carlos and Jonas were her present and future. That night, after the reunion with Breno, Eliana sat on the balcony of her apartment, a cup of steaming tea in her hands, lost in reflection. The gentle breeze caressed her face, bringing with it a sense of peace and accomplishment. Looking at the sky, she contemplated the extraordinary changes that had occurred in her life. Who would have thought, Eliana, she murmured to herself, a gentle smile lighting up her face. You found a completely new purpose. Memories of the past few months flashed through her mind like a movie, from the stressful moment she learned of her cousin Maya's tragic fate to the decision to welcome Jonas into her life. Each step was a mix of challenges and rewards. She thought about how her life had been before, dominated by surgeries and the tumultuous relationship with Breno. I was so focused on my career and making things work with Breno that I hardly realized what was truly missing in my life. Jonas' arrival brought a new perspective. You changed everything, little Jonas, she said aloud, remembering the boy's smile, his innocence, and how he had brought a new light into her life. And then there was Carlos, the friend who became something more. Carlos, you, when I least expected it, but when I needed it the most, Eliana sighed, thinking about how Carlos had seamlessly integrated into her life and Jonas, bringing stability, love, and a partnership she had never experienced before. She got up, walked to the window, and looked inside, where Jonas slept peacefully while Carlos read a book in the living room. A sense of gratitude washed over her. She had never planned this turn in her life, but now she couldn't imagine it any other way. Sometimes, the best things in life are those we never planned, she murmured to herself, with Jonas and Carlos. Eliana had found not only love and family but also a sense of completeness and happiness she never knew was missing. She felt grateful for every twist and turn, every decision that had brought her here, embracing her new life with an open heart and renewed hope for the future. If you enjoyed this story, please leave your opinion here in the comments, and of course, leave your like and subscribe. Turn on the notification bell to not miss any videos. A big hug and see you soon.